we get a lot into like all the little tips and tricks of like how to sell beats and stuff. But I think sometimes people are like not really thinking about big picture stuff, like what are their plans, what are their goals and stuff like that. And that was kind of some of the stuff we were talking about earlier. I was wondering if you could just kind of, just kind of touch on some of that stuff.
Yeah, man. I think that in general, the internet is a blessing. At the same time, there's so much information that like, we scroll through Instagram and we can watch the video on YouTube and here and there. And in 12 minutes, we have like 5 different opinions and 5 different things in our head that it's like, okay, wait a second. I want this Lamborghini. Wait a second. Oh, I need to figure out how to sell this fucking beat for $10. Oh, these guys are complaining about this and all these different things that it's like, it confuses us. And I think for each producer, for each artist in general, they need to have their own goal of what is needed, whether it's a 6-month plan, a 12-month plan, but some kind of just little goals and not worry about what someone online thinks about that. Even if someone's totally contradicting what you're saying, this is your personal goal. Like if we give an example about like, prices, everyone's like, what should be my prices? It's like, dude, your price is what it's worth. I've sold, exclusive beats for over $1,000. I've also sold them for $200, right? I decide in the end, at this moment in my life, what I need to do, right? So if you're just starting out or whatever, you're kind of, making $400 or $500 a month selling beats, like, I'll be selling everything I possibly can, whatever, especially if your goal is to pay the bills, right? I had a few years ago, I had a goal to, I got married and, I had a kid my wife had a kid, right? And, there was a plan, we wanted a place to live, et cetera. That was the goal. And so I was like, yo, exclusive sale, boom. Like if I, sold, 200 beats at $250 or $300, let's say to make the numbers equal, that's 60 grand right there, right? I can always make more beats. Now someone would say, dude, you shouldn't be selling them at 300, but the end goal is I have $60,000. I took that money, I put that down payment on, to buy a spot. Like that was a real tangible goal that, I can now touch and feel these walls, right?
Right.
So it's like, regardless of what people in the industry say, or my beats could have been more, or I could have played the long-term game and leased them out and maybe made more money, but it's money today. That's also for my goals. Now I don't have a goal like that because I've accomplished it. So I'm chilling back. So now if someone's like, hey man, I'll throw you, 300 for that beat, but I feel that in the long run, I can lease it out and make way more money and I can play the long-term game because I can afford it, then I'll do so. But don't worry about what I say or anyone says, that there's no right way to do something. The right way is what you need to do.
Right. And that could be different
at
your career or where you're at in your life, right?
Exactly. No one talks about like kind of that personal side of what you need to be doing or if it's like, hey man, I need to buy a new car or whatever it is, like knock out those goals if we're talking about pricing in the financial way, because there's no difference between leasing 1,000 beats at $25 and making 25 grand or selling 25 at 1,000. The math is the same.
Yep.
It's just whatever works for you, and also how the economy is as it's changing, as we're noticing, a phone is $1,000, right? The average person has, less than $1,000 in their bank account, especially mostly our customers.
Yep.
Understanding that. So after these people pay their bills, they take the girl out on a date, they do all these things, they buy themselves clothes and food and all that stuff. And what's left is like, okay, hey, they want to buy beats. Thank you, God, that you want to buy beats from me. And like, let me know your budget, right? So it's just kind of being able to adjust to all that, not only what you feel you want to do, but also listening to the customers and the potential customers, listening to what's going on in the world and not romanticizing about how you want it to be.
Yes, because bro, that part right there, the romanticizing thing, I feel like so many producers do that, where they have this idea in their head as far as like, yeah, what they should be charging or what their career should look like. And I feel like I might get like more hate than anybody as far as like, because I run a lot of ads and stuff, and so it'll be for like a deal where it'll be like a bunch of beats for cheap, or like my lead magnet of like, hey, opt in for some free beats. And like I get so many comments from producers like, oh, you're selling yourself short, you're fucking up the game, like all this kind of stuff. And it's like, dude, like just for one thing, like your music, your career is not as precious as you think it is. Like be open, like be willing to try different things. And also, like you said, like you could sell, 10 beats for $1,000 each, or you could sell 1,000 beats for $10 each. You end up with the same amount of money. So like, don't worry about what somebody else is doing. Like, stick to your business model and don't be like mad at other people's business model.
Exactly. And I think the beauty of the Beatz is that, we're not this one product that's, we're comparing to, the Walmart versus Target or whatever. Or this, it's like, no matter what, like even I think, having I very rarely do like X amount of % off or something, because usually if the person wants that specific beat, there's a whole time thing. Like I'll see people do some desperate thing like today only and whatever it is. And, I think that it takes someone's got to download the beat, write to it, take a month, whatever their writing process is. You're not going to speed that up by some, like, it's one thing if it's a previous customer and they already like, your stuff, and like, hey man, I'm doing a deal. Like that's when I go in and kind of, do the follow-up game. But there's a difference between like the mass and then like your previous customers. You can treat them differently, and you should, right? Because they already like you. You don't have to sell yourself to them again.
Right.
So it's like, that's when you could give them a deal or whatever it may be, or, their situation. So yeah, man, I think just figuring out for yourself, whatever it is, because the ironic part is, when I moved to LA, it was damn near, 10 years ago, and the whole like online beat selling thing was just starting. It was like, Johnny and Vibe and whatever, right? A few people.
Right.
And trying to dive into the industry, and I'm like, also trying to sell $25 beats, and like people would laugh at you. Like literally you'd go be like in a session or like, you'd be networking, whatever that means, at a party somewhere, and they're like, what? Like, haha, that's stupid. But the irony is those people who used to charge, $5,000 for a beat and got that, they might, you might sell 2 beats all year and make 10 grand, and that's great, but you can't live on that. Yep. So realistically, it's just like understanding that I think we grew up, and our parents grew up, and our parents' parents grew up in a world where we choose this one profession, and you do it for 40 years, and you get a pension plan, and it's like, what are you going to school for? Who are you? Now we live in a world where every 5 years you might have a different profession, or the business itself is changing because of the technology.
Right.
So it's like you have to adjust and understand that if the average millionaire has 7 different streams of income, you have to think like that as an entrepreneur and build that way. Because whether it's okay, like I remember when I started selling, little sample packs and stuff, I think the first year I made like 3 or 4 grand, something like that. And I could have been like, that's not really money. Like, oh, why should I focus on that? But like 2-3 years later down the line, it actually turned out a nice stream of income, right. That I'm making the beats anyway. I might as well chop them up and, make sample packs out of them. It doesn't really take me that long. So right. It's just building up that attention and understanding that, what is a 6-figure, business for a producer, and just doing what you love. It's probably not going to be this one thing.
Yeah,
it's probably going to be 5 streams of $25,000 each.
Right.
Of different things.
No, and I think it's important what you said too, as far as keeping an open mind of how are things evolving. Like I feel like, just like those same producers, whatever it was 10 years ago, were like laughing at people selling beats online because it's like, oh, we're like industry producers, we're cool or whatever. Like those are the guys who then started realizing like, oh shit, like no, the guys leasing the beats online are the ones making all the money. Now they're hitting us up like, yo, could you help me out with that? Right. But then like, to me, the irony on top of that is like, some of the guys who like now figured out that are like getting mad at the way that it's evolving now. You know what I mean? It's like, to me, it's just like, keep an open mind. Don't get stuck in whatever you decided worked for you when you first started your career. Like I just see that mistake over and over again.